I ate the urinal cake at the club because I thought it was a complimentary mint, and now I'm banned for stealing bathroom supplies. The whole disaster started, as most of my disasters do, with a girl. Her name is Clara, and she works the bar at the Velvet Coil, a place that's way too cool for someone like me. It's all exposed brick and dim, moody lighting that makes everyone look like they're in a music video. The air smells like expensive cologne, spilled gin, and the faint, electric crackle of bad decisions. My best friend, Sam, insisted we go. He said I needed to get out of my head and just talk to her, as if it were that simple. For me, talking to Clara is like trying to defuse a bomb with chopsticks while wearing oven mitts. It's a delicate, impossible operation. We were propped up at the bar, nursing overpriced cocktails that tasted mostly of sugar and regret. I'd been watching her all night. The way she moved was mesmerizing, a kind of fluid efficiency that made pouring a drink look like an art form. She had this intricate tattoo of a raven that wrapped around her forearm, and when she was busy, its wings seemed to flutter under the low lights. I'd spent 2 weeks rehearsing an opening line in the mirror. It was supposed to be a casual, witty observation about her tattoo, but when she finally drifted over to our end of the bar and asked, "You two need another?" my entire brain short-circuited. All that came out was a strangled noise that sounded something like burb. She just blinked, gave me a polite but confused smile, and moved on. Sam buried his face in his hands and groaned. The shame was a physical thing, a hot wave that washed over me from my scalp to my toes. I needed to escape, to reset. I told Sam I was heading to the bathroom, which felt like the only neutral territory in a building designed to intimidate me. The bass from the speakers was so heavy you could feel it vibrating in your teeth, and the short walk felt like wading through molasses. The bathroom at the Velvet Coil is surprisingly nice. It's clean, smells vaguely of citrus, and has those fancy sinks that are just a slab of marble with water cascading down it. I splashed some cold water on my face, staring at my reflection. My hair was sticking up in a weird way, and my eyes were wide with panic. "Get it together," I muttered to my reflection. That's when I saw it. Sitting pristine in the otherwise empty urinal next to me, glowing a cool, almost ethereal blue under the recessed lighting, was a small, disc-shaped object. It was nestled in a little white plastic cage, looking for all the world like a piece of hard candy in a fancy wrapper. My brain, already addled by anxiety and 1.5 midnight fogs, made a catastrophic leap of logic. A complimentary mint, of course. This place was so high-end, so focused on the customer experience that they put breath mints in the bathroom. It made perfect sense. It was a way to freshen up before heading back into the fray. It was a lifeline. I looked around. No one was there. With a surge of what I thought was sophisticated confidence, I reached in, popped the little plastic cage open, and plucked out the blue disc. It was cool to the touch and smelled powerfully, intoxicatingly of, well, what I assumed was an extremely potent wintergreen. I didn't hesitate. I popped it in my mouth. The first sensation wasn't flavor, but a chemical sizzle. It was like licking a battery if that battery had been soaked in the strongest, most acrid perfume imaginable. My tongue went numb. The wintergreen scent I detected earlier exploded into a full-on industrial assault, a cloud of perfumed bleach that filled my sinuses and made my eyes water. This wasn't a mint. This was a violation. My entire nervous system screamed in protest, a single unified message of wrong, abort, evacuate. I gagged, a full-body convulsion, and stumbled towards the marble sink, spitting the blue disc out with a wet, chalky smack. It skittered across the pristine white surface, leaving a bright blue smear like a dying comet. Panic, cold, and absolute seized me. I jammed my head under the faucet, letting the cold water cascade into my open mouth. I scrubbed at my tongue with my fingers, desperate to get the taste off, but it was like trying to wash away a tattoo. The flavor had bonded with me on a molecular level. My mouth felt fuzzy and coated, and every breath I took was a fresh wave of that horrifying synthetic floral scent. I looked at my reflection again. My face was pale, my lips had a faint bluish tint, and my eyes were wide with a horror that went beyond social anxiety. I had just tried to eat poison. Willingly. Confidently. I was no longer just a guy who couldn't talk to a girl.
I was a creature who couldn't distinguish between a confection and a toilet deodorant. The shame from the burb incident felt like a fond, distant memory of a simpler time. I must have been in there for 10 minutes, rinsing and spitting and having a quiet internal meltdown. Eventually, the numbness in my mouth subsided into a dull throb, and I knew I couldn't hide in the bathroom forever. Sam would send a search party. I had to go back out there, back into the thumping heart of the club, and pretend to be a normal human being. I took one last look at the blue smear in the sink, a monument to my failure, and pushed the door open. The bass hit me like a physical blow. The walk back to the bar felt even longer this time, each step a conscious effort to not just curl up on the floor. I felt like everyone was staring at me, like they could smell the chemical residue clinging to my soul. Sam saw me coming, and his expression shifted from bored to concerned. "Dude, you okay? You look like you just saw your own ghost." I slid onto the stool, my hands trembling slightly. I tried to form a sentence, to say something, anything that would sound normal. What came out was a croak. "Water," I managed to rasp, my throat feeling raw. Sam flagged down Clara. My heart seized. Of all people. She glided over, her expression a mask of professional politeness. "Everything all right?" she asked, her eyes flicking between me and Sam. I couldn't look at her. I just stared at the bar top, focusing on a sticky ring left by a previous glass. "He just needs a water," Sam said, putting a steadying hand on my shoulder. "Long night." She nodded, filled a glass, and set it in front of me. As she leaned in, I flinched, convinced she could smell the urinal cake on my breath. For a terrifying second, I thought she was going to say something, ask if I was wearing a new, incredibly aggressive cologne. But she just gave me a brief, unreadable look and moved away. I downed the water in 3 huge gulps. Sam waited until she was out of earshot. "Seriously, what happened? You were gone forever." I leaned in close, my voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Sam," I said, the words tasting like shame and chemicals. "I did something bad." His eyebrows shot up. "What, did you clog the toilet? It's fine, man." I shook my head, the motion feeling heavy and slow. "Worse, I ate the mint from the bathroom." The mint? Yeah, in the urinal, the little blue one. The gears in his head turned, processing the impossible sentence I had just uttered. I watched the dawning horror spread across his face, his eyes widening, his mouth falling slightly open. He looked from me to the direction of the bathroom and back to me. A strange, strangled noise escaped his throat, a sound caught somewhere between a gasp and a laugh. "No," he whispered, "you didn't." Before I could confirm my legendary stupidity, a shadow fell over us. A bouncer, a man whose neck was wider than my future, was standing there.
He wasn't looking at Sam. He was looking directly at me. "You," he grunted. "Come with me." My blood ran cold. He must have seen me. There were probably cameras. He knew. He was going to announce it over the club's PA system. "Tonight's idiot," he'd say, "tried to eat our toilet freshener." He led me away from the bar with Sam scrambling to follow. He didn't take me to an office. He just stopped in a slightly less crowded corridor near the entrance. He pointed a thumb back towards the men's room. "My cleaning guy just found the cage for the urinal screen busted open and the puck missing. Saw you come out of there a minute ago looking all squirrely." He leaned in, his voice a low growl. "You think it's funny to steal our bathroom supplies?" My brain stalled. Stealing? He thought I stole it? Of all the possible accusations, this was the one he landed on. The relief was so profound it almost made me laugh, but it was immediately replaced by a fresh dilemma. I couldn't tell him the truth. The truth was 1,000 times more insane, more pathetic than petty theft. So I just stood there, mute, a deer in the headlights of my own incomprehensible actions. He took my silence as a confession. "All right, that's it. You and your friend, get out. You're banned." He pointed to the door. "And don't come back." And just like that, we were on the street. the heavy door of the velvet coil closing behind us with a definitive thud. The cool night air felt good, but it couldn't wash away the taste in my mouth or the fresh, burning brand of my new title, the guy who got banned for life for stealing a urinal cake. We stood on the pavement under the sickly orange glow of a streetlight, the muffled thud of the bass from inside the club already feeling like a memory from another lifetime. For a full minute, neither of us spoke. Sam just stared at the closed door, then at me, then back at the door. The silence was thick with unspoken questions and the lingering phantom scent of chemical wintergreen that I was pretty sure was now just a permanent part of my olfactory system. Finally, he turned to me, his face a perfect mask of bewilderment. "They think you stole it," he said, not as a question, but as a statement of incredible fact, like he'd just seen a pig fly. "They banned you for life because they think you're a bathroom fixture kleptomaniac." I just nodded, my mouth still feeling like a Superfund site. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it if I wasn't already choking on the memory of what I'd done. I was given an out, a get-out-of-jail-free card for the prison of ultimate social shame. The bouncer had handed me a different, more palatable narrative. I wasn't the guy who mistook a toilet deodorant for a breath mint. I was the guy who, for some unknowable punk rock reason, decided to steal it. One is a case for a therapist, the other is a story you could almost tell with a shred of misplaced pride. Sam started walking, and I fell in step beside him. "But why?" he finally asked, the question I'd been dreading. "Why would you— what part of your brain saw that thing in a urinal and thought, snack time?" And so, as we walked through the quiet, sleeping city streets, I told him everything. I told him about seeing Clara, about the burb catastrophe, the spiraling anxiety, the desperate need to feel like a normal, confident person who could just say hello. I explained the fatal logic, the dim lighting, the fancy marble, the pristine condition of the little blue disc sitting on its clean plastic throne. I told him how for one glorious, idiotic moment, my brain had convinced itself that this was a high-end, complimentary amenity, a sign that I was in a place of class and sophistication. I was trying so hard to belong that I had short-circuited my own basic survival instincts. By the time I finished, we were a few blocks away, and Sam had stopped under another streetlight. He was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. It was a cocktail of horror, pity, and something else. Something that looked suspiciously like suppressed laughter. He tried to hold it in. I saw his shoulders shake, his lips press into a thin white line. He put a hand over his mouth, then another. A strangled snort escaped. Then another. And then he just broke. He doubled over, hands on his knees, howling with the kind of desperate, gasping laughter that echoed in the empty street. It wasn't mean-spirited. It was the laughter of someone who has just witnessed something so far beyond the realm of normal human error that the only possible response is a total system failure. I just stood there and took it. I deserved it. When he could finally breathe again, he wiped a tear from his eye and straightened up. "So let me get this straight," he gasped. "You tried to poison yourself to impress a bartender, and your reward is that you're now a known urinal cake thief." He shook his head, a fresh wave of giggles threatening to take him over. "Man," he said, clapping me on the shoulder, "that's not just a bad night, that's a legend." And somehow, hearing him say that, something inside me shifted. The burning shame didn't disappear, but it was joined by something else, the sheer cosmic absurdity of it all. He was right. It was a legend. A deeply pathetic, cautionary legend, but a legend nonetheless. The story the bouncer had given me was my shield. No one ever had to know the full truth. To the world, I was just a weirdo who stole bathroom supplies. Only Sam knew I was an aspiring connoisseur of them. As we got closer to my apartment, the taste was still there, a ghost on my tongue. I knew I'd be tasting it in my sleep, that every time I smelled air freshener for the rest of my life, I'd have a Pavlovian gag reflex. The night was a total, unmitigated disaster. I didn't get the girl, I got banned from a club, I committed a crime against my own body. But as Sam said goodnight, still shaking his head and chuckling, I realized I had survived. I had stared into the abyss of my own social ineptitude, and the abyss had spit me back out, smelling faintly of pine. So here's what I have to ask you.
When you're caught in a moment of pure, unadulterated humiliation, do you own the full, insane story, or do you grab onto the more believable lie they hand you? Let us know in the comments.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. I post new stories every day.